Right, we're here at the beginning of round 9 and I've overlaid the work onto the mandala that I've already made, just so as you can see where we are in case you're only kind of joining us here. You can see we've now made the petal as wide as it needs to be, and we're going to start bringing the petal back in, so reducing the stitches in this middle section here to bring the outside of the petal back together into ultimately into a point. And we're going to start on this round, on round 9, making some inroads into making this piece between the petals start to look a bit prettier. Okay, so that's what we're aiming for. Let's get started. So round 9 starts in the way that we're totally familiar with now, which is 2 chain, just to bring our hook to the level it needs to be at, and our 2 front post treble. We should be absolute experts at these by now. So just a reminder that you're going to just put your hook around the post of the treble of the previous round rather than through the top of it. So there we go, 2 front post treble, just unhooking the yarn as usual. 2 chain, again nothing unfamiliar here, but now we're going to start reducing the numbers of these trebles that are sitting in our petal. So we've got 5 at the moment, we're going to go down to 3, and we're going to do that just by simply missing out the first and the last treble and just making 3 treble across the top there. So skip the first treble, then we'll do 3 treble, 1, 2 and 3. Okay, and then we'll skip the last treble from the previous round as well, just forget about that. So 2 chain and go back into our 2 front post treble. So what that's going to do is going to start bending the outside of those petals together, like I said, ultimately to bring it together into a point. So there's our 2 front post treble. So that's a petal part done. We're now going to start working between the petals. So we're going to do 2 chain, and goodness me, we're going to put some stitches in and around this chain loop that we've made from the previous round. So we're just going to put 3 treble in there. So just put your hook straight under that bar and make your treble there. That's 1, that's 2, oh, drop that, let's try that again, that's 2, and then 1 more is 3. Okay, and we'll finish up with 2 chain to get us back to the beginning of that repeat again. So if you look at that, we're reducing, like I said, reducing the trebles in the petal part here, and we're putting some trebles in the bridging section between petals. So I'm going to finish it all the way around and show you what it looks like finished. Okay, I've just put the last 3 treble in the space between the petals. Last 2 chain. Oh, I haven't got to do any more front post trebles, have I? Oh gosh, I've got to do the join again, people. This has been stumping me this morning. It's clearly stumping me again, isn't it? If you're going to do the join, and do, because it's really clever, make sure you have the yarn behind your hook before you start, and behind the work, else when you pull your loop through from the front to the back, your yarn's not quite in the right place, but it's in the right place now. Okay, so lovely. That then, oh, it grabs my, I'm wearing a jumper today and the yarn is very attracted to it, so it keeps grabbing hold of me. Right, so sorry, that was round 9. I'll turn it around and give it a little spread out so you can see. So what you can see is the petals are coming back in on themselves, and we've made a little, starting to make a little feature between them. So that was round 9. Right, let's start round 10. So round 10 starts in exactly the same way that we're used to by now, which is the 2 chain to get your hook where it needs to be, and the 2 front post trebles. And as I said before, if you've made it this far, you know exactly what you're doing there, so that's fine. And we're just now, with our petal, I'm going to bring it in even further, so reduce that 3 treble down to 1 treble now. So the same thing that you did before, which is to say ignore the treble either side of the centre, which will just bring it down from 3 to 1. So I'll show you what I mean. We're going to do 2 chain, 1 and 2, and we're going to miss the first treble and just put a stitch into the second treble. So just 1 treble in there, and then 2 chain again, 1 and 2, and when we make our next 2 front post treble, that will just have the effect of bending the outside of this petal inwards even further. Let's have a little look. Okay, you can see without me doing anything at all, it's really bending in towards that ultimate goal of being a point. Okay, so that's what's going on inside the petal. The petal is obviously delineated by the front post trebles either side. And now we're going to work on the section between the petals. So that's when we've put those 3 treble in last round. So 2 chain again, just to skip us over to where we want to be. And what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be putting 3 trebles in again, but we're going to put some 2 chain spaces between them so they kind of start to fan out. Can't do it with 3 fingers. Let's pretend there's 3 there. Fan out a bit. Okay, goodness, who knew? I didn't know I couldn't do that. Okay, so treble in the top of the first treble, 2 chain, treble in the top of the second treble, 2 chain, and a treble in the top of the third treble, and then 2 chain to hop us over to our next front post treble. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a couple of front post trebles in sort of at the beginning of the next repeat, if you like, so we can just have a look at what's happening here. So what's happening is where our petal is coming in to a point, we're having to compensate by going out in the section between the petals, and the way that we're kind of fanning out is by putting in these 2 chain, little 2 chains between the trebles that we've made there. Okay, so we're keeping the space, we're just losing it here a bit and gaining it here a bit. All right, so we're going to do that all the way around, and I'll see you at the end. And here we are at the end of round 10, and you can see that the petals are really closing up now. We've got one more round, I think, and then there'll be proper points. And everything in between is opening up nicely. So very simple, some trebles and some chain spaces. So where we're taking width away, we're adding it back in. Okay, so that was round 10. We'll move on to round 11.